So let me give you some background. It was back in May 2017, one of Alberta's members of the Assembly wrote to the office and asked us to look at the grants that the government had made to Pure North. And by the way, Pure North is a private health foundation. And at that time, there was a fair amount of controversy swirling around in the media regarding those grants. And we thought it would be in the public interest for us to actually do an audit of the grants that were the subject of the debate in the public arena. What we decided was we would not get involved in trying to assess the merits of whether or not grants should have been made based on the intended result of the grant. That was something that we didn't get into. We decided our expertise is systems expertise. We would look at the Department of Health's processes to issue grants. And so there were two grants in question. There was one made in 2013, and it was a $10 million grant. And then there was a second grant made in 2016, and that was a grant of $4.2 million. So with respect to the first grant, so that was a $10 million grant, the department did not follow its processes. In particular, a very important process is to have in place a way of measuring whether or not the recipient of the grant uses the grant in the way you intended it to be used. And so you seek to measure whether or not you got value for money. There was no process put in place at the beginning to make that assessment. So, and also basic procedures were not followed. So with respect to the first grant, we concluded that the department had not followed its processes. But with respect to the second grant, the $4.2 million, although process was followed, what we discovered was that the deputy minister had actually declared after he had signed the grant agreement that he felt that he had a potential conflict. So to make a declaration of that nature after you've authorized the grant indicated to us that there has to be something wrong with the department's processes for establishing whether or not those involved in the granting process have conflicts. And so we made a recommendation to the department that it, in fact, seek to improve its processes in that way. And I think the department was pleased that we had made that recommendation, because whereas it's sometimes quite clear what should happen at the more junior levels, if I can put it that way, in a department, the rules and processes are not clear at the deputy minister level. Well, I think every Albertan has a right to expect that government will conduct its business with the highest of ethical standards. And in this case, the second grant, clearly there was controversy. I think our work was useful in saying process was followed, but I mean, certainly we confirmed that there are things to be thought about and improved with respect to conflict of interest. So, yes, Albertans are entitled, I think, to systems that seek to guarantee good behavior, good ethical behavior. And, you know, in the end, if there aren't good processes, does it matter? Well, yes, it does, because process can help you save money, find opportunities to improve how you do things. So process is important. It's not just something that accountants are obsessed with. The real value of process is that it can identify opportunities that you might not otherwise seek. For example, in that first grant, the fact that there was no process to measure whether or not the grant was effective, I mean, that's a huge weakness. I mean, a government should not spend $10 million on behalf of its citizens without a way of measuring whether or not Albertans got value. So yes, process is important, and it's designed to prevent waste. So I think the decision we made that we would insert ourselves into this, if I can call it, controversy, and try to provide Albertans with an objective view on the Pure North grants, I think that was useful work for Albertans.